All right, so Twistzz, we're here. We want to go through your tournament setup, right? What you would do on a play day. We got the desk, we got the chairs, we got the monitor, we got all the good stuff, right? So I want you to set up, and as you go through this, I'm going to be asking you some questions on why, right? The people at home, they want to know why, all the little details here of what you do and why. So let's get started. Okay. And I guess plugging in the gear is the first place to start.
Yeah, that's step one.
With the monitor, do you know exactly how far away, or is it just a feel?
It's usually when my keyboard meets like the end of the desk.
Okay.
And that's where it feels right to me. Sometimes it goes closer, but obviously it depends on how much tilt I want in my keyboard.
And the monitor, that was the first thing you did, was pull it forward and tilt it like this, right? Is that as the far back as the tilt goes?
I believe so. Some monitors tilt more far back, like the Alienware monitors.
Yeah.
But I prefer like the BenQ ones, so the tilt's good.
Okay. And why do you have it on that angle? Because like for me, for example, like, I like it straight. Some players like it tilted like this. Like, why do you want it like that? Is it because the way that you sit into it?
Yeah, I think it's the way I sit. I have a very like upright posture, and I like to look down at the monitor.
Okay.
I feel like I focus better when I'm looking down at something. You know, it's kind of like reading a book or reading something on your phone.
I get you. So is there anything, you know, with the keyboard here, you've obviously got the full keyboard. It's not 10 keyless or anything, right? Do you care what keyboard you have? Does it matter? Or do you can use anything?
It usually doesn't matter what keyboard, but I definitely prefer red switches over anything.
Red switches, okay.
Yeah.
So like with being close, there's a bunch of players who love to be close to the screens, and some of the answers that I've heard from them before is they feel the most locked in. Is that the same for you, or being this close to the screen? Obviously you play with Elige forever. He has his monitor really far back. Like, did you guys ever have discussions about the difference and why you guys do those things with the monitors?
Obviously, it was just our preferences. I mean, as other players would say, I definitely feel more locked in.
Yeah.
But like on stages and stuff,
yeah.
I can't. The only thing I can see is the monitor.
Okay.
And if I look to my right, the only thing I can see is my teammates.
Okay.
You know, in order to be distracted, I have to intentionally be distracted.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, Elige is like the complete opposite of me, but I always like to set up because as a teammate, I could really look at his monitor.
Yeah.
And we played a lot of sites together, so I could look at whatever he's doing.
Okay.
So it was pretty easy for me, and he sits far back, so you could still look at my setup too.
Okay. What about the mouse, right? Is this another just personal preference, or is there's something about this? What's the mouse that you're using and
I'm
why?
using the SteelSeries Prime.
Okay.
And it's just I guess the best lightweight ergonomic mouse available, I guess.
Okay.
From like a high-end like manufacturer, not some like very small one.
All right, nice. What about the chair, right? Like, I see some of the players, they get the arms taken off. Like, do you use these arms at all for when you're playing? Because you're awfully close to the screen, right? And you don't have a lot to like rest your arms on. So is it,
I've never been one to like rest my arms, to be honest.
All right.
It's always like, it's usually like this. This is exactly like how I use to sit like during matches. It'd be like this.
I want to check this, right? We're gonna do this throughout the day with the other players we check, because we want to see just like how close to the screen you really are here. So it's like from nose to screen, what are we talking here? Like maybe 14, 15 centimeters. Like legit, because obviously you're well known for hitting headshots. And I'm trying to think of some other players. Rops, right? Up close and personal, loving a good headshot. Bit as well, another one. He's so close. Zantares, right? Like there has to be something with you boys who love sitting close to the screen and the headshot percentage, because like that's it. Mate, I know you're young, but Jesus, like your eyes are gonna be going blurry at some point there. You're so close.
I actually have glasses that are meant to be used for like the 13 to 14 like centimeter.
Oh, really?
distance. Yeah.
Is that intentional?
Yeah, it was intentional.
Okay, well there you go. So you're an Android now basically, right? Okay, all right. When we're sitting here taking a little bit of a look at the video settings, what res are you using at the moment?
I use 1280-960.
Stretched?
Yeah, stretched.
Okay, so the stretched res, do you adjust anything else like digital vibrance, cranked all the way?
Yeah, it's always 200.
Okay.
I usually change like the monitor settings too. I usually use Gamer 1.
Okay.
And then brightness is cranked. Contrast up 55.
Yeah, we see you've done this a few times before.
Yeah. Sharpness down 1, and then I just like to have even colors instead of one that's like tinted. And then black equalizer down to 7. Everyone's up to 12. And then sometimes depending on like if my eyes feel stressed, I put the blue light all the way up.
Oh, wow.
And then if I feel good, then I take it down.
Okay, if your eyes feel stressed, like what is that? just another like per day thing, or is that like an environment setting thing?
It's usually like an environment thing. There's like a lot of like bright lights and stuff, or it's like being like a very long day. Sometimes I just like change it. It happened a lot like in 2019, and the glasses I have that are meant for like this like distance also have a blue light filter in it.
Okay.
So I don't always have to adjust it, but yeah.
All right.
It's just like a precaution for myself.
In terms of like the actual graphic settings in game, well, the NVIDIA panel as well, do you adjust much here?
I usually just put the things I can to maximum performance. So like the power management mode and then the texture filtering quality. And that's usually it. I mean, everything else doesn't really matter. Like if you turn VSync off, it doesn't change anything because it will only turn off if you turn on it in like in game. So.
All right, easy. Do you have any launch options and stuff that you run with on a regular basis?
I usually just do dash tick rate 128.
Okay.
That's it.
The actual settings in game, what are ones of these here? Because I know people are like, okay, so close to mollies, you want to see more, maybe further away from mollies, you want to see more. Do you have any preferences with that kind of stuff?
Not really. Usually the video settings I've always used for like probably the beginning of Liquid. Because like before, like players would always like have everything like on low.
Yeah. Until
like they found out how important it was to actually see like shadows and stuff. Because that's not something I knew about until like I joined Liquid back then. So I usually just have my shadow quality on high, everything else on low. And then I turn the anti-aliasings down and I turn on FXA and the anti-aliasing because for some reason I just like it. It has like edges on like the wall. It makes like the corners more defined.
Bit sharper.
Yeah, it makes the corners sharper on like buildings and stuff. And I prefer it that way.
Okay, nice.
And for a video setting, that's actually it.
All right. So another big one obviously is the crosshair. This is one of the things that some people change all the time. Are you the type of guy who keeps it consistent, or do you adjust your crosshair often?
Yeah, I've been changing it. I'd say I've been changing it consistently, but like it doesn't change that much.
Okay.
It changes within like 0.5 like size or 0.5 gap.
Okay.
Or sometimes I use style 5 over style 4.
Well, I think we've got a CSGO hub on here, right? So if we jump in there, at least we can show the people. There you go. What you're working with right now. So you said style 5 or style 4?
Yeah, I usually switch between the two.
Style 5's dynamic, right?
Yeah, style 5 is the one where it only moves when you shoot.
Yeah. You ever played around with the option where you can have it per weapon?
Actually, yeah. I can show you the crosshair that I was using for some of the events. So I actually think the crosshair that's here might not be accurate.
Yeah, I don't think this is updated, is it?
Yeah, I look like something's...
It's kind of close.
Something's a bit off here.
A little bit fatter over there.
Yeah, that was my old one. I used to use that one. I used that one for like a couple years. It's like that.
Holy, that's a big difference from the one you're using right now.
Yeah, and I prefer yellow over green now.
Okay.
So I usually use yellow instead.
But that is tiny compared to the one you just had on, right?
Yeah, I mean, it honestly makes like a big difference. I mean, gradually my headshot percentage went up over the years.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I went away from like a thicker crosshair.
Okay.
And I started slipping down. So like, this is like super small, but this was like, I usually use size 2 and then gap -3 and style 4. This is usually the crosshair I use.
Okay, so that's a bit more consistent, that one right there. All right, nice. Then in terms of like your binds, what are you using for jump? You using scroll wheel and spacebar? You got the both, or you just doing one? What do you use for jump?
I have mouse wheel down for jump, and then my jump bind is usually on N.
Okay, so safe to wear. But is that because that part of the keyboard you don't have a lot of other binds, or?
Yeah, I mean it's just like muscle memory, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I never press M and I never press B, so it's just I'm used to having my thumb here.
What about what do you use space for? Do you use it for anything?
No, I used to use it for in-game mic.
Yeah.
But it's unbinded now.
What are you using for in-game mic now? Is it just like?
It's usually mouse 4.
Okay.
It's not on this config, but it's usually one of these buttons that I use for in-game.
All right. Are you the type of guy who has different grenades bound to different keys, or are you still scrolling through with 4?
Not on this config.
Okay.
But I had Z binded to a molly, and then I took away the inspect key from F, and I had a flash bind to F, and then I had smoke binded to also one of these keys.
Okay.
I binded it to the back one because like sometimes you can accidentally press the front key. So I bind it to like I think this is mouse 5. So yeah, and then for HE I just use like 4 to get to the HE. It took a while for me to actually start using grenade binds. Like on some configs I would have them like binded, but I would still like use 4. But it just became like, I guess like,
habit.
I just had to make it a habit, you know? Like every scrim you have to like focus on like pulling out an A at this time and like using like the actual buttons to make sure you can use it.
Oh yeah, your sensitivity. That's kind of a big one, right? A lot of this stuff, when we talk about it, it's like personal preference this, personal preference that, right? But like, I think if you were to look at a big sample size of the good pros, you've got outliers. You've got the Woxics of the world, right? Using super high sensitivities.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Mihu, for example, using super low. But then there's obviously a middle ground. Where do you fall into that? Like, what's your sense with DPI?
I'm using 1.5 right now. So this config's like from 3 months ago.
Okay.
So I'm using 1.5 at the moment.
Is with that 800 DPI, 400 DPI?
400 DPI.
Okay,
1.5.
so that's kind of low, right?
Yeah.
You'd be falling into the lower category of sensitivity, I would say.
Yeah, I think I've been in the lower category for a while, even when on Liquid, during the Grand Slam run, I had 1.4 cents.
Okay. Do you want to start shooting some bots for us? Because I want to see, right? You've set everything up. I want to see if you start shooting some bots here, what happens? Do you have like a certain amount of bots or a certain amount of warm-up that you do to feel ready?
Usually DM, or I have like a different map that I use. It's like an aim reflex map.
Okay.
So it's like you're standing like in a center platform and the bots are like trying to knife you technically.
Yeah.
So they jump around like obstacles and stuff, and you just have to try to kill them before they get to you.
So it's just about like warming up the eyes or warming up the hand more, or a bit of both? Because I know when you're playing on different setups all over the world in different environments, it can always feel a little bit different, right? So is there a moment when you're like, yeah, this feels right? Or is a lot of the time it's like, oh, this just feels okay?
I think it just comes down to confidence in game.
Okay, so it's not even the
think
setup.
it's mental.
All right.
Yeah, it's not the setup. I think it's just mental. Because like I've played on like terrible setups, and I can say that it feels right just because I know I'm just gonna fuck people up, you know.
Yeah.
Beep.
No, that's all right. You get the player ability to swear. You guys are allowed to say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.